To the second segment of the show for today. The topic is African American unity for success. And of course, we have talking about African American unity for success, Pastor Kelvin Walker, who is the pastor of the Hands of God Christian Church. And of course, Reverend Walker, let us pick up the conversation that we left off with, because I think you were talking about some of the things that have, in a real sense, historically, in a real sense, separated African Americans. And I think that you mentioned what went on during slavery.
Right.
But I think also you were coming to the point of talking about after slavery, during the period of Jim Crow, which you also served. Go on, let's pick that up.
Yeah, because, you know, there had to be something in place, Dr. Haney, that would have been used to control the slave, of course, and that was that fear, and that was that distrust, and that was that envy. And that thing has kind of perpetuated itself, because Willie Lynch was saying, if you put this thing in place, it will perpetuate itself, and will work for the next 300 years.
Good.
Now, this 1712, you look at, are we 4 years away from the fulfillment of that thing, or do we escape? Is it over then, or what? But the thing is, and then that thing has transcended, you know, after slavery ended. Then you had to go through a period of reconstruction and stuff like that. The old South, things were changing and stuff. The war was over and everything. And then you had some blacks that were far better off than other blacks. So there was a separation and caused some disunity, because now you got the blacks that wasn't, you know, you had some slave owners that really cared for and took care of their slaves. So when they left, they gave them some things and stuff like that. And some of those blacks were intelligent enough to start business and start doing some things. And then that created, even further perpetuated that envy and that distrust. So now it is, now they're saying, now, since they have already been taught to not trust anybody black, so now when you got a black person that's got a business, they're not going to trust you enough to come to your business and patronize your business and to associate with you. So now you got this further separation that's going on. And then, you know, of course, as time goes on, you got the separate but equal. So now you got segregation going on. And then you've got, you know, and that system just constantly works. You got the light-skinned blacks against the dark-skinned black, and the medium brown, and the good hair against the bad hair, and the tall against the short. And then the women had always been elevated in a position over the black man. This came from slavery, because you know, the black man was never in control of his family.
Very good.
It was never his. It never belonged to him. So that whole thing has spread it into our culture, even as of today, because black men now, you got a lot of black men that will produce but will not care for that which they produce. And I think that came from that mindset that was injected in us back during those periods of time that we existed in. So now, Dr. Haney, we're in a situation whereas we got black people that are going into business, that are doing things, and then you've got there's another segment within our culture that says, I'm not going to support you. And we talk about each other, you know, as if, you know, we'll talk about each other. I've heard black people say negative things about black people as if they wasn't black themselves. You know, and that mindset, Dr. Haney, needs to be dealt with and needs to be stopped. Because how long are we going to continue this, that particular way of thinking? Because if we continue that, then we're going to always have disunity. Nothing will ever come together. If I'm jealous and envious of you, Dr. Haney, because, you know, you're doing a TV show, and instead of thanking God that you have positioned yourself or in a position to do that, then if I'm jealous and envious of you, then I can never attain to the level that maybe you've attained to, and at the same time, you won't be willing to pour into me, because you can sense that there's an air of jealousy about myself and envy toward you because of your hard work and diligence in getting where you are.
You know, it seems to me that what you're saying here is that there are a number of things that keep African Americans from being successful. But the fact is that they don't generally understand, nor do they articulate some of the things that you're talking about now, which is to say that I think that most people would agree, most African Americans would agree that what you're saying basically has a foundation for truth. But now, in terms of that being widespread knowledge, and understood exactly the implications for it. Many people don't understand it. White or black don't understand
it. And a lot of the thinking is, this is just how I am. But we have to go back and find out, why am I thinking like this? Why is it that if a black man or a black woman has a product and that you won't buy and purchase that product, even though it's at the same price of the other product.
And same quality, oftentimes give you the
Same
same quality,
I mean,
the same thing.
Yeah, the exact same thing. And so you got to go back and find out why is it that I won't do that, and to search that thing back, and whether the Willie Lynch letter is true or whether it's not true, the things that
the outcome,
the outcome is definitely there.
Still the same thing. You know, as a matter of fact, this was one of the major themes, I think, Pastor Walker, in the early 1900s, in terms of African Americans buy black, this kind of idea that African Americans ought to support African Americans, which is not to say that you ought to exclude other groups.
Absolutely.
But if you look at other groups in this country as well, you generally find that if they have businesses, whatever, they generally can find patronage among themselves, you see. And so this is one of the things I think that what we're talking about here is that we don't seem to recognize that this is a product of disunity.
Right.
And unless we can recognize that this is a product of disunity, then there can be no what we call future success.
Right. And Dr. Haney, you look at other cultures, and all other cultures, they really support themselves. They support themselves, you know. If they got a business, then they support each other's business. They support each other in many different ways. Now, people, especially black Americans, we'll have a problem with immigration. You know, we'll have a problem with illegal immigration, which that is a problem. But, you know, the issue is, what about the legal immigrants that are coming to the land of opportunity, and we're having a problem with them owning stores in our communities and stuff like that, that we go and patronize and stuff like that. But at the same time, they have left their country to come into a country that offers them an opportunity, and we're born in this country and won't take advantage of the opportunity. And then when those of us that are black Americans do take advantage of these opportunities, afforded to us in this land of opportunity, then there's that envy thing that goes into play and say, well, I'm not going to buy from them because their product is not going to be any good, even though it's an identical product that you can go across town and get it from whatever other culture that may happen to be doing that.
Very good. And of course, we're getting ready for our second commercial break here, Pastor Walker, and I think that this is essentially what we were trying to achieve here. That is to get some of this information out in the open. It's something that I think that everybody understands, and everybody, well, they might not understand it, but everybody know about it.
Right.
But they don't understand the sources of it, and they don't know how damaging that it can have. And another thing, we don't have an opportunity to talk about it at this time, but I wish that somebody one day would say something about the N word that is so prevalent among so many of us, and et cetera. And of course, we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break.